Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach. Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God gave, God is taken away. Blessed be the name of God. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar etchem b'tzalmo v'zan v'chilkel etchem b'tuvo v'hamed etchem badin v'nata b'tochechem chayei olam. Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan ha'emet Atah gibor li'olam Adonai orav li'oshia mechalkel chaim b'chesed b'chayei hakol b'rachamim rabim somech noflim v'rofei cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunato l'shenei afar mi chamocha be'al gevurot umido melach memit umchai umetzmiach Yeshua. Baruch Atah Adonai Noteah b'tochenu chayei olam. Okay. Adonai roi lo echsar binot desher yarvitzeni al me menuchot yanoleni nafshi yeshoveh Yancheni b'magelei tzedek leman shemo gam mekilech b'geit salamavet lo yirara Ki ata imani shiftecha umishamtecha chema yenacha muni daroch lefana Shulchan neged sorra nishanato Bashem en roshi kosi revaya Ach tov chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayim ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אכזב, אדוני רואי לא אכזב. The Eternal is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Eternal makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. The Eternal guides me in straight paths. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The Eternal prepares the table before me in the presence of enemies. The Eternal has anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. I'll be closer to you here. This is on internet, so that's why I'm using the microphone as well. So Saul Feldman. We now say Zichrona Livracha. We have accompanied him in the mitzvah of Levaya, which has brought us here to his place of eternal rest, to his place of memory. So we're going to take a few moments to remember what we can of Saul. As you probably are aware, he had no immediate mishpacha. He was preceded in death by his father and mother, by his two brothers. We know that he was well loved by some of my mishpacha, who happen to be here today, and Donnie came from far to be with us. And that's, of course, the family of Zach and Rivka Zelchin, whom he was a very good friend to. And what I discovered and what I was sharing with Moshe is that I found a very unusual thing about Saul Goodman, just by chance, having to look on the internet. There was a gentleman by the name of Pat Catabre. I believe I'm pronouncing the last name right, Catabre. And he worked for Winnipeg Hydro for many years. And in the notice of his passing away in 2011, there was Saul's name, attributing him to having this great friendship, this supportive friendship, all those many years when they worked together for the hydro. And of course, as Moshe has talked about it with me as well, that Saul was continuing to be a good friend, probably to many more people than we can imagine, especially after such a long life. So if we could take a few minutes now and maybe, Donnie, are you going to say a few words? Thank you.
Thanks, Len, and thank you for everyone who's here for coming out to help and honor Saul. I very much appreciate it. So, who was Saul Feldman? He lived to be 99. He was a very quiet man. He lived inside a lot. In Yiddish, he was a Schweiger. But most of all, he was a carer. He took care of his parents for the last part of their lives in a very devoted way, lived with them and took care of them. took care of his sick brother, who he's going to be lying with now, for I think upwards of 20 years, and spent most of his energy doing that care for quite a sick man. My father was ill for many years, and Saul never missed a week of visiting him in all those years. When he got older, I learned some things from him. I learned about some adventures that I never would have thought of. Saul and my father worked on constructing the Alaska Highway, which I would never have thought of about either of them. And stories about cycling to Winnipeg Beach into a 40-mile-per-hour north wind, and then not having to touch the pedals on the way back. And a lot of interesting things, but most of all, he was a devoted son, brother, and friend who gave continuously throughout his life. And I think in his last years continued to do so with some of his acquaintances where he was living. He was a highly intelligent man, and quite remarkably for a 99-year-old, he had a better memory than I think anyone that I've ever met. He was sharp as a tack until the day that he died. So when we say farewell to him, it's with thoughts of somebody who was a giver and a carer, and who really never spent that much energy on himself because he was always giving to others. And let his memory be a blessing to all of us.
Very nice. Amen. He could fix anything, right?
I should have said that it's a contemporary reference. When anything went wrong in our house, the refrain was "Better call Saul."
Oh no! Well, that generation, I think I'm sharing this with you, my cousins, that I was very fond of that generation because we called them uncles and aunts. You know, Moshe's mother was my aunt, Rivka, although my mother's cousin. Uncle Zach, Shalom. And I know that you called him uncle too. And that generation, I think, really understood the idea that it takes a village. Really it does to raise a child. Of course, you missed out in that generation, unfortunately. You only saw the next leg, the next branch, the next era. But they all really loved each other and looked after each other. I think they went through a terrible time. They went through the Depression, through a war. They knew about how cruel and unfair life can be. Yet they appreciated the privilege that they had living here.
We should just mention my sister, who is hopefully watching this in New Hampshire and probably crying as she did all day yesterday. Saul was very, very special to her and to all of us.
Thank you, Moshe. And so I entreat that which is creation, as much as we can know, that this is a good man. Hilmani rachamim, shochein bameromim, hametzei menucha nechona, tachat kanafei hashchina, im kedoshim וכתורים כרזור הקיו מזהירים את נשמת זלמן בן גדליה ראובן וגיש הרוכל שהלך לעולמו ביעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור החיים וינוח משלום ונאמר Amen. As it is our custom now, we end this time of accompaniment and we go into what the ancients called aninut, into kind of a hollow time, a time to remember and fill the hollowness. And we contribute to this place of rest by taking earth and showing our respect, our kavod for the neshama, the soul of this person, and help him and cover him in his place of rest. Before we now will stand and say the words of the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemech Rabah bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabah mevorach li'olam u'lalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shalom Rabah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'yimeru. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved. hard to leave, isn't it? I'll just call it through.